Myself, Professor Pawar VK from Department of Geography, J.A.T Art, Science and Commerce College for Women, Malegaon. On behalf of this video presentation, I welcome you all. Dear students, in the first video, we have dealt with the earthquakes, meaning, the definitions, and in brief, we have seen the causes of the earthquakes, that what are the actual presumed causes of the earthquakes. Now in this second video, we will deal with the earthquake or seismic waves. Now the earthquakes or seismic waves are of basically three types. First is primary waves or push waves, or those are also known as P waves. Now these waves are generally like the sound waves, or which the movement is to and fro. Actually their movement is just as like to and fro in the lines of propagation. They are also known as longitudinal waves. The velocity of these waves increases while traveling through the rocks of higher density. They can pass through the liquid medium also. Now second waves of the earthquakes or seismic waves are secondary or transverse waves. Those are also known as S waves. Now these seismic waves are similar to light waves, where each particle is displaced at right angles to its direction of movement. These waves cannot travel through a liquid medium. Now this is the difference between primary waves and secondary waves. The primary waves can travel through the liquid medium, whereas the secondary waves cannot travel through the liquid medium. Now third waves are the long or ground waves. Those are also known as L waves. These waves travel along the surface of the ground. The P and S waves, that is primary and secondary waves, take a direct course through the earth. The velocity of P waves is greater, and hence they arrive first at the recording station. They are followed by S or secondary waves. But L waves, that is the long or ground waves, take a longer time and follow the longer surface route. So this is the difference between the primary waves, secondary waves and long or ground waves. Now we will see the next point, that is the recording of the earthquakes. Now fourth point, that is recording of the earthquakes. How the earthquakes are recorded? Now here earthquakes are recorded with the help of an instrument which is known as seismograph. The record made with the help of seismograph is known as seismogram. The intensity of earthquakes is measured with the modern Richter scale, in which the intensity varies between 1 and 10. This is the Richter scale, where the intensity is located from 1 and 10. A magnitude of 7 shows a major earthquake. The lines joining places experiencing earthquakes of equal intensity are known as Isosmal Lines. Now these are the lines which show the equal magnitude or the uniform magnitude, and when these lines they join all the places having those magnitude earthquakes, these lines are known as Isosmal Lines. It is possible to pinpoint or locate the location of the epicenter by plotting Isosmal lines showing successive degrees of seismic intensity. Now this was regarding the instrument, the seismograph, and record made with the seismograph, that is the seismograph. Now we will see the effects of the earthquakes. Now wherever the earthquakes they take place, now some effects which are very disastrous or which take or cause a great deal of loss to life and property. Now apart from the immediate destruction of life and property, earthquakes bring about several changes in the earth's crust. We will see one by one all these earthquake effects. Now, number one is cracks and fissures develop in the surface rock strata, due to which new springs may appear on the surface of the earth and the old springs may disappear. So, appearance of new springs and disappearance of the old or existing springs may take place. Second effect, it is if these cracks develop in hilly areas or mountainous areas, they result in landslides which may block the river courses, and if these river courses are blocked, temporary lakes may be formed in that particular region because of all the debris which is collected over there. Because of this debris accumulation, a lake may form. Such cracks may damage the dams constructed on the rivers and responsible for disastrous floods. Whatever construction of dams are there, due to this particular high seismic waves, these walls of these particular dams may get cracks or the structures may damage, and hence because of this damage of structures, these dams may break and there may be a disastrous floods below the river courses, and which may just happen to again the loss of life or property, because most of the settlements are found along the river courses. Next is number third. Due to uplift or subsidence of a small area, some wells may become dry while the other may get more water. Because of this upliftment or faulting these particular areas, in these particular areas, or displacement of the rocks in these areas, the wells which are having water since long ago, that water may disappear, and the wells which were dry since long ago, so this water can be found in this particular wells. So somewhere the water may appear in some wells, and in some wells they may lose the water forever. Next effect is the rivers may change their courses if fissures develop in their beds. So whatever existing courses of the rivers are there, those can be changed because of the development of fissures in the river channels. The next effect of the earthquake is when an earthquake affects the ocean floor, great waves which are known as tsunamis. Actually, tsunamis is a Japanese word. These tsunamis may spread outwards. They spread with a great speed of 500 to 800 kilometers per hour and cause great damage to coastal areas. Now, these particular tsunamis, they travel more than the speed of jet planes, and actually when they reach on the coastal areas, their magnitude or the height of these waves, it increases, which may be more than 30 meters, and at the speed of the jet plane, when they arrive at the coast, they may damage the coastal scene. Actually, the industries are located, the settlements or harbors or ports which are located along the coastal areas or throughout the world, those may damage because of the tsunami. Actually, the tsunamis damage the coastal scenario of that particular area where the intensity of the earthquake shocks is more on the Richter scale. The next is construction of the rock strata. Contraction of the rock strata takes place, which is evident from the bending of railway lines and pipelines. Now, these rock strata, when they contract, actually the railway sleepers or railway lines which are laid down in these particular areas, or maybe the water pipelines or gas pipelines or oil pipelines in these particular areas, there may be a great damage to the property due to the bending of the railway lines. The railway accidents may eventually take place because of this particular earthquake shocks, where the railway tracks have been disturbed or the railway lines are being bent, or the pipelines, leakage of oil, leakage of gas may cause a great deal of loss to the property. Also may get fires also in that particular area because of the leakage of gas and oil pipelines. The next effect is that earthquakes may form depressions forming lakes. So due to the folding, or say we can faulting, the depressions may be formed, and because of these depressions the lakes may be formed in that particular area. So apart from this, there are the destructions to the life also. Because of this, we can categorize the effects as the destructive and constructive effects. So, earthquake in Italy in 1908 lasted only for 23 seconds but killed 2,50,000 people. In Japan in 1923, 1,23,000 people were victimized due to the earthquakes. Now, earthquake shocks trouble consecutive for 4 days. After the main shock, 93% were observed in 5 days. In 1935, earthquake of St. Helena received 2,500 shocks in 1 year. In 1819, run of Kutch witnessed subsidence of 3,200 kilometers land and uplift of about 960 square kilometer land by 3 meters from mean sea level. So, in this way, these earthquakes are very disastrous for the human life. In the year 1993, earthquake in Umarga Killari region of Maharashtra destroyed several villages and brought deaths of lakhs of people. Koyna earthquake created a crack of 48 kilometers in the lane up to Varna river. So, in this way, in short, we can summarize that the earthquakes have the destructive as well as constructive effects. So, a great deal of loss is caused by the destructive effects of the earthquakes which occur on the surface of the earth. Now, students, in the last slide we have seen the recording of the earthquakes, how these earthquakes are being recorded. Then we have dealt with the earthquake waves also, that the primary waves, secondary waves and the long or ground waves. And in recording we have dealt with how the earthquakes are recorded on the Richter scale, the instrument known as seismograph, and record which we get, that is the seismogram. Now also we have dealt with the effects of the earthquakes, that is the constructive and destructive effects of the earthquakes, because earthquakes is a continuous phenomenon. Every now and then, for every second, the earthquake or the earth receives the shocks of the seismic waves or the earthquake waves. Now in this video we will see the distribution of earthquakes. Now where these earthquakes are found throughout the world. Now these earthquakes are found in 3 major belts of the earth. Now, first belt is Circum-Pacific belt. This belt more or less surrounds the Pacific Ocean and is known as a girdle of fire, or it is generally also known as the ring of fire, where eventually the earthquakes originate. Nearly 66% of the active volcanoes lies in this belt. It is coincident with the belt of earthquakes. It runs through the young-fold mountains of the Rockies and Andes in the North and South America and around eastern coastal areas and islands of East Asia. Malegaon, Fujiyama and Cotopaxi are some of the well-known areas of this particular volcanoes of this area. Now, second is the Alpine Himalayan zone. Now, in this particular area, we will see the distribution of the earthquake waves, or where these earthquakes they take place. Now in this particular area we will see this is the mid-world mountain belt. This belt is associated with the young-fold mountain ranges of the Alps, the Himalayas and their continuation in the Southeast Asian islands. Nearly 21% of the earthquakes of the world originate in this belt. So these particular 2 belts are found in the earthquake distribution.